you, everyone. It's with great pleasure I'm going to introduce our guest speaker for this evening. We have one of the draggermen here from the Westray mine disaster. He worked in the mines for about 6 years prior to the Westray accident, and he was employed with Westray from the fall of 1991 until the end of July of 92, so he even worked in there after the explosion happened. So without further ado, can we have Mike Salsman up to give us our presentation? Thanks, Mike.
I don't know what to say about Westray. I think it's all been said many times, but I think you folks must have some questions. Something you don't understand, or?
So could you tell us about the day, the explosion, or the morning after when you came into the Westray?
That morning going on shift?
Yes.
I heard the explosion in Stormont.
Okay.
That's probably 50 straight miles away.
Wow.
I was in bed finishing up a book. I had one chapter left. I didn't want to do my head all of that. It was a really strange wallop. It was a fine morning. I couldn't figure out what it was. I did after a couple of hours when I got to work. I arrived at the Plymouth Fire Hall, and there was a police barricade or block from the roads or whatever, so they said there, didn't say there was an explosion, they said there was a cave-in at the mine, which was a daily occurrence. There was nothing to even note in my mind, but I said, well, I probably should go in because I'm on shift and I'm on the dragger teams, and they just let me pass, and that was it. I was on one of the A teams, and they just bring us up, and they send us back for something else. Like, there was no, they utilized it to the best of their ability, I guess. They kept us really on the ball. It was sometime in '91, the same thing blew Westray coal up. They brought a tractor load, I'm not sure, supplies of some sort in, and made a lot of dust, and there was a tornado went around on the floor. Didn't bother me. I was used to drilling blast methods, you know, rocks flying around, you know, all kinds of foolishness, but the bosses were really, they were freaking. I asked, Welch fault, what's wrong? He said, you don't know what that was? I said, no. He said, good. Better you don't. Then later on I found out what it was. It had been a dust explosion and went out. Just there was enough rock dust and dirt on the ground to put it out, or it would have kept going. It would have been Westray in '91 instead of '92.
I have a question. When did you all realize that there was no hope for those underground?
10 o'clock, May the 9th, I did. All the pipes were busted because there's no air going down. And it looked like a ladder going down, right? All these things going back and forth. Well, there's a meter of concrete and a steel door at each one of those. So on the right-hand side, the conveyor belt road, there was a meter on one side, then another meter, a concrete rebar blew over into your travel way. So there was no way anybody survived that. These were explosion-proof doors on these. The doors are intact, but they were sitting over in the other tunnel, in the way. So by at least 10 o'clock, I realized there's nobody coming up over there alive. No chance. The little things we wore on our belt, the stainless steel, you self-rescue. It only filters out carbon monoxide from a fire. It don't give you no oxygen to breathe. You have to have enough oxygen in the air to support life, but it'll filter that out and keep you alive for quite a little while on carbon monoxide. But there was no oxygen left. That's why the fires went out.
There was 26 killed, right?
Yes.
Was there any bodies recovered?
Yeah, there was 15 came up. And it's hard to realize, but these tunnels, some of the roof fell down. So you have 6 feet of rubble, and you have the steel roof, but you have it goes up to a point that it wouldn't fall anymore, like a church steeple, and you could walk and travel down that, but you couldn't find nothing because these machines were buried like a couple meters of rubble. There was nothing to find. You dig till you was foolish around them. The bodies weren't in the machines, not likely to get blew away or whatever. I think what helped me a lot, I was involved in it right till there was no more I could do. They locked the gate and we didn't go in anymore. That was it. It was shut down. I worked rehabbing for probably 6 weeks after it blew up. Installing new ventilation doors, cleaning up the travel way, limestone down. Well, it should have been done earlier, but Department of Labor, I'm not sure who was running it, but it wasn't Westray Coal at that time. I think the Department of Labor had taken over, was getting it up to a safe state. Because we went in back later with the Mounties, I think it was probably late August, September, for a couple of weeks, and they did a dust sample, every meter we deemed was safe up and down every tunnel. I mean, thousands of these things. We didn't touch them, we just cleaned the spot and made sure they weren't going into something that would get them hurt.
Before the explosions, a while before it, were you ever aware that there was things weren't
Oh,
done properly in the mines?
yeah.
And the dust kept building up, was it?
Yeah, see, modern coal mine, it moves fast. Like, you cut 20 feet here, you pull over, you cut 20 feet there, you bolt this and get it fixed up and you're back in fast return, sometimes 3 hours, cut 20 more feet. It was not unheard of to cut 60 or 80 feet in a night in one heading. So they weren't, nobody, the only thing was getting any dust into Westray. We had bolting machines and they drilled into the stone ceiling and there was just stone dust from them was falling out. That was the only thing to make the coal dust inert. Nothing else was being added much. They bought some limestone at Motion. I done it once, I sprayed it for an hour. That was all I ever seen of it done. Yes?
We certainly know that the employer didn't walk the walk, but in your opinion, before the disaster, did they talk safety? Like, were they promoting safety in the workplace?
No, it wasn't. Cut coal. The primary ventilation at Westray Coal was perfect. The air, you don't shove air down a coal mine, you pull it up your exhaust route. They had huge fans and there was no problems with that. But it was in these little sections where they cut coal, they wouldn't take the time to hang fans and shove air in there to push out and stuff. They were just in too big a rush. It was there to cut coal and not to push air around. Being a hard rock miner, I knew there was going to be an explosion. I just thought it was going to blow one section out or up into a bunch of gear or something. Like blasting didn't really scare me, but I didn't realize the scale was going to happen on. Like 3 or 4 kilometers, this blowing up at once.
So this dust was built up over an amount of time then?
Yeah. And it wasn't, they just weren't adding what you're supposed to. You're supposed to add enough limestone to this to make an inert mixture. You can take gas, it don't make much of an explosion, it makes a pop or a bang. You have to have the right percentage, but when you add dust to this, I seen the Ken Met lab fellow do it at Westray, he showed us, wow, it scares you when things are in the right proportion. And it obviously was that day, it got mixed up. But it only takes a tiny little bit off it. You can make 25 Westrays, just keep down and setting her off again, and we keep working for a long time. That's why we went back, wherever labor, whoever it was fixing it up, they really stone dusted the place. Made it probably safe to win. So we done that for like probably 6 weeks, I'm guessing, it was a long time. So that's how long it took it to get it dusted up.
Yeah. Wow.
So if they would have followed proper protocol, then the mine could have probably stayed productive and nothing.
Oh, I think so, yeah. Yeah, it was a very, most places in mine coal, I think Cape Breton was only 5 or 6 feet high. There was 30 or 40 feet of it. They said there was 60 feet, I'd never seen that. But they would cut a room up like this, right? Then you go over here with your cutter, then you start cutting and backing out and retreat. Then the walls would get dangerous, and you come out maybe 4 or 6 feet and cut. The last one was just in the middle, scooping her down to get the heck out of there, because that takes the pressure off. It's not a bad thing, a coal mine falling in. It's just its way of filling itself back up again. It's a little scary when you first see it, but it's not. It has to be done.
So that was caused by the lack of oxygen, is it, the explosion?
No, it was caused by a cutting machine raised its picks, and from what I seen, my guess, and set off a little methane explosion. It didn't even knock the lunch cans off the shelves. There was in between the girders and stuff where they were setting. It wasn't really that violent. And the fellows that was there weren't hurt much. Their hands are skinned up, their face, knees under their pants. They looked like a kid upside a bicycle or something. There was no real gross damage to them. They were hurt some, but not. They probably been hurt worse in their lifetime than that. But then it went out and it went into a dust explosion. And it went down right to the bottom of the mine, and where it come from there up, it just wrecked everything. You can see by the way the chuck blocks were laid and the steel was laid how it really went. And it really made a mess when it went down there. I never seen it personally, but they say there's a tractor with another tractor welded to it, hit it, that's got 4 back wheels. I would say it was one tractor, but they all said it's 2 tractors. That's how much they welded together, smashed that hard into each other. And there was coal cutters, they take 20 years in the roughest kind of brutal use. I mean, lumps as big as mobile homes hitting on them, they hit you on the ceiling and back up and chaw it up. But these things were bent, like look at the highway to Baghdad, everything was bent and twisted and things I couldn't imagine ever bending or getting out of shape. Like I said, the steel, I think it was 2-inch plate, the bodies were made of these things. They're made to take it for a lifetime. Yes, please.
I'm just curious, in the months or weeks leading up to the explosion, you probably seen some warning sign
Oh, yeah.
from your fellow co-workers.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of people quit there. Most people, one friend of mine, I'll tell him anyway, he never made it down. He hired on, he went down on one tractor heading to the work site. He caught one on the way up, he never made it to the site. enough on the ramp to see him happy. Then there was another fellow, Joe Parker, he stayed a day. And there was a lot of people just finished maybe their set of shifts and got home and never went back.
They got spooked.
But there was some things against it. You couldn't get your unemployment if you left there. You would not get unemployment, they wouldn't give it to you. They said it was safe. And I know another good friend of mine, he got hurt working on their light. You know, pit lamp. His one did, they wouldn't send one down or nothing. He worked in the dark and hurt his back.
You had rescued at least one other worker prior to this while you were at work.
Now, I did dig a fellow April Fool's Day.
Right.
The Westray coal, we drove up. They had refused to work in this here section. We went in anyway. It was already known that there wasn't a good spot. So we went in, there was 3 of us. The other 2 were on the bolt. There was just a little bit to finish bolting up the ceiling. These had baskets, they would up and a big drill on, they bolted the ceiling. They had to put wire up. Anyway, I was making up these bolts for the night because we were going to haul out and go to another heading, another spot to work. So we usually need 100 bolts. So I was eating a sandwich and drinking a pop and getting 100 bolts ready because we're going to use them anyway. They were up there and just fiddling. It was some kind of a mess. I wasn't really paying much attention. Next thing, the roof comes down. Romeo, he's gone. I don't know where he went. And the other fellow, Todd, he falls backwards and gets buried in the muck pile. I can't find him. Even though it's a coal mine, there's a white dust over the ceiling. I don't know. He couldn't see from here to her. Couldn't see nothing. So I threw his helmet back in and said, "See you in the next world, dude." Anyway, it stopped. So I had a shovel, so I went in and I started digging. After a while, it was probably, the way he fell, there was probably 5 or 6 feet of rock over his feet. But it basically stopped at his belly, and his head and stuff was free. So I got him shoveled off, chopped him up with a shovel. But I shoved some 6x6s in timbers, because this was kind of an alleyway. You went up through it, and I kind of blocked it off, and I shoveled there for 5 or 10 minutes. I got it cleaned off. But anyway, while I was shoveling, there was rock, big as a 5-gallon bucket, fell by each shoulder. It never hit me. I never got hurt or nothing. But I knew there had to be one in the middle, so I just kept shoveling. I never looked up. It's no good to see it coming. So anyway, I got them shoveled off. Then they brought another piece of equipment in, the coal cutter, hooked a big cable and pulled it out, and we got him out of it. Anyway, I went up in the morning. This is the real story. Roger and Gerald, the bosses, they had a whole bunch of papers over the table. I didn't need glasses, I could see quite well when I read them. They said Todd had momentarily been buried. It was all right. It didn't say all right. Momentarily buried and whatever, and they wanted me to sign all these. I didn't sign. I said, April Fool's Day. I didn't know it was alive or dead, what I was signing. So I walked out the door. I came back 4 days later, never heard a boo about it. But anyway, when I went in front of the inquiry, they showed me all these papers I had signed. I never signed any of them. So I didn't know if I had a job. I was quite confident I didn't sign them. I had no doubts. And it was getting to be pretty near a point of a fist fight, so I was telling Fred Doucette, you better bring in the bounty group side there, because I never signed these. I never signed. That's why I never heard no more about it.
When the accident happened and you guys were going back down, part of the rescue mission, did you have the proper safety equipment for going back down there at that point?
No, we had all the proper trigger gear. There was a lot of people came from all over. There was from New Brunswick, a lot from Cape Breton, Devco people there. But we went into a lot of the places first. The team I was on, the Westray 18, a lot. Not every one or anything like that, but a lot of effort into it. But you just couldn't find anything. That was the problem. it was getting up to last, it was getting really dangerous. Because this stuff had been settling for a week now, you were hearing falls everywhere. Well, there was one place we went, the steel would have been exactly probably as high as this room, maybe a little higher. It was down lower than the chair you're sitting on. We couldn't crawl through with our backpacks on us, there was lots of width but no height, so we just slid them beside us. But later on, we brought barefaced people and they cleaned it off to the sides, made it a travel room. As high as a table there, whatever, you crawl through it quite easily then. It was kind of a scary looking, there was only one hole to go down into this too, made like a well. Truck blocked off, so we kind of had to go down a little well, I wouldn't say maybe 6 feet deep or 8, whatever it weighs, then you went through this. I know you have more questions.
Have you been underground since all that? You
No.
don't work anymore?
No, I'm not gonna work.
Would you go back?
Yeah, I would, I think. I'm not going away to work it though. But a lot of these fellows that get killed at Westray, I worked with quite a bit, some of them on several mine sites. Like John Haller, Miles Gillis, Roy Feltney, we worked, and that's probably the third mine we worked together in, worked for not a decade, 5 years. The 2 electricians that killed at Westray, they had really bad luck. They were up and went back just in time to blow up. The mechanic, he was up, he just made it over to did make it quite underground. And I won't say names, but I know one fellow's mother-in-law was over from Newfoundland, he called in sick. Another fellow was ungodly drunk, couldn't get out of bed, so he didn't make it. And one other fellow, I don't even remember what his name was, so there should have been a lot more people there.
I want to thank you.
His brother was in the mine.
Okay,
His brother's been,
okay.
And just thank you and all the dragomen for what they did. We had no idea, I had no idea it was that bad. I knew it was bad, but what you just said today, I never heard before.
But was Benny working overtime?
He wasn't supposed to be there.
He wasn't supposed to be there, because he was on my shift. I actually worked, he was my over.
He was relieving somebody.
Yeah, okay, I found that was strange.
Mhm.
When you, on a 4-on-4 cycle, you almost always work with your same fellows who work the same place, you know, in the industry I work at now.
Just thank you to all of you guys.
Oh.
You guys are a special breed.
Yeah, for sure.
I was
Yeah.
at the fire hall when all this was taking place too.
Okay, you know what you're being told over there, then nothing, and, you
There was
know.
all nothing.
No, I know, it's just feeding you shit, there's no other way to put it.
They sure did.
But they were trying to keep us as separated as we could,
Yeah.
feeding us different places, and, yeah. It is an emotional issue for a lot of people, a lot don't want to talk about it, and I understand why.